What's good, y'all? This is RGB Fox. I am late, admittedly, because the ban list got released on Master Duel on the 22nd. It's now the 25th as of recording this video, but that's okay. We're gonna go over the banned cards really quick. The banned cards are going to be Rose Whip to 0 and 5 Rainbow Magician to 0. The cards to be limited is going to be Synchro Overtake and Herald of the Orange Light. And then cards for which they will be to 3 will be Fenrir and Metamorphosis. Now I have a lot of thoughts about every card that gets pulled up, with the exception of Metamorphosis. So I guess we can start to the unlimited section and then move on to the forbidden list. To begin with, I think Metamorphosis is being released because of the Neo Clayman, right? That fusion monster that's going to get released that you tribute Bubble Man, I'm pretty sure, in order to summon it. And I don't know how relevant that will be, right? A lot of people are saying that the deck has an OTK, but like if it's just an OTK that I have to worry about, I think I'm okay with the prospect of dealing with that. Additionally, there might be a chance, of course, right, with this card being at 3 now, that people could go ahead and use it to summon like the Last Warrior Standing Alive or something like that. But honestly, I'm not too worried about it. There are like way too many inconsistencies that occur with decks like that, in which if people try to get it off, it would just not be relevant, in my honest opinion. I guess people could use it to summon Kid Kalos, right? But like, again, I just don't see that being like the worst thing in the world. So Metamorphosis targets could definitely be like an issue, but I think it's fine. Fenrir to 3, I'm actually fine with this change, but I wish, you know, if they were going to bump Fenrir to 3, that they would hit like a Rise Heart. And I get it. You typically only see a Rise Heart in the Canine Kashtira deck, where they're able to summon a Rise Heart without any like Kashtira monsters on their end board. But like, I hate floodgates, you know. Everyone has heard me say it before if you have followed the channel for a long time. And I would prefer for that deck to get hit, because it already sucked whenever like the opponents would play Kashtira and they open like Unicorn, right? And then go full combo, or maybe they open Pressured Planet. This improves that, but like the card itself, I'm actually very okay with, wholeheartedly. So I have no issue with Fenrir jumping to 3 here. I think this is a fine change, and honestly, we need like better breakers that are good going first and second. Fenrir accomplishes both of those. Herald of the Orange Light. This is going to 1. I can only imagine that the deck that is only utilizing this at the moment is not Cool Tune, but the Yummy Sulfur deck, right? Yummy Sulfur, obviously incredibly good. The reason why it's so good is just the fact that, for one, they have access to a lot of fairies, and being able to access other methods to stopping cards like MAXX C, Fuwalos, and stuff like that, and it just being a really good hand trap altogether on top of your end board, warrants it, in my opinion, to get hit to 1. In my honest opinion, I think that like Herald in the vacuum is really powerful, especially in best of ones, and so for that reason, I do believe that Herald going to 1 is a fine change. Aside from that, if like Yummy Sulfur was in the deck, I could see this still being at 3 and it'd be okay. But maybe they're doing this preemptively to hit decks in the future, such as like the Dark Lord support that's going to come out, so Dark Lords would get like indirectly hit, but also, you know, I think Dark Lord wouldn't even be like a big issue with Herald. So I don't know. This one is like good, but it's okay in my opinion. Synchro Overtake. Synchro Overtake is it's a super rare, so obviously they're going to hit that, right? Also, it doesn't make sense for Konami to go ahead and try to hit like the deck in and of itself. So if we go to the shop here for the Cool Tune archetype, and we look at like the ultra rares, we see cards like Cool Tune RS, Zaylin, even if these cards were super rares, I don't think that RS or Zaylin warrant, or rather, I don't believe that these cards are so powerful to where that Konami would have to like hit these cards to 1 or outright ban them, right? Like Zaylin is probably one of the better designed Omni Negate cards ever, and that is because it doesn't directly negate the first card that is activated, right? It you have to make a very like informed decision on whether or not you want to like negate a card, right? Negates obviously still suck in the game, but like this is a negate where I believe is genuinely okay and is really hard to get to. 1 tuner plus 1 synchro monster, like not every deck has access to this. Both decks that do have access would be Yummy and or Cool Tune, and I think that this card here alone is relatively okay. Rico, so I don't think hitting Rico ever would be like the call. Neither is Q, although Q has more of a reason because it is a E-Telly, right, on legs. But the Rico just searches for like, you know, any of the level 2s or Rotary, and if we were going to hit the deck, Rotary would be the card that I believe should get hit. And then Q can summon Rotary, but Q is often summoning out like either Rico or MAXX to grab the Rotary, and so like all paths lead to Rotary, right? And so in the future I could definitely see Rotary getting hit to like 1 at least, because like, you know, getting free hand knowledge and a search are really broken, especially when you get to chain block it. Like you would like often go like Trackmaker 1, Rotary 2, and then like whichever other Cool Tune you use, like for instance Q3. This is the card that you would want to hit if you're playing Cool Tune. Maybe also Cool Tune Synchro. Maybe instead of having it at 3, we have it at 2. But it is still in the shop for like the next like what 30 days at least, 40 days. So it doesn't make sense to hit the deck directly. So what do you do instead? Well, of course you're going to go ahead and if I could find my notifications, there we go. You hit like other consistency cards, and Synchro Overtake is really powerful. I mean, after all, this one card alone is 2 other cards, 3 rather. It is MAXX, which gets you any like non-level 2. It gets you Rico, which gets you any non-level 3, and it doesn't use your normal summon, right? So MAXX and Rico are obviously the best ones, so that they get you 2 cards for the price of 1, and you get to plus on top of that. And then you also have the option to summon Clip. It doesn't really come up often. In fact, I think Clip and Crackle, like Clip I think is fine whenever you use that as synchro material, but I don't find myself going into Crackle often to like manipulate my opponent's extra deck, especially if it's like on my turn, right? I hardly would ever go for that unless I just need like an extender, and for instance Clip wasn't used, and then therefore I can go like Remix and add it back, and then like, you know, get some follow-up. So I think Synchro Overtake getting hit is actually really great. I could definitely see people adding like other consistency, such as if we look at the related cards, Duelist Genesis, or perhaps people fill their deck up with more hand traps, or perhaps people gravitate more towards like Pot of Desires, right? So Synchro Overtake is a massive consistency hit, and I think this is a very good card for Konami to have limited it, still giving Cool Tune of course the option to have a boost in consistency without outright making them broken. Okay, I spoke a lot there. My neck is definitely hurting, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish off with the limited section, or I'm sorry, the banned section. So I'll start with Naturia Rose Whip, since we're on the conversation of Cool Tune, right? Naturia Rose Whip is a floodgate, right? Whenever you have it on the field, your opponent is only allowed 1 spell or trap activation. Someone on Twitter brought up a good discussion, or not discussion, but point. But my initial reasoning why this is good is, number 1, if the best way that I have to break through an opponent's board is by using a few spells and traps in order to crack it, then I want that option to be available if I believe I have a chance at winning. In the mirror match, you know, being able to utilize cards like Cool Tune Synchro and like, yeah, again, Synchro Overtake, etc. Is very important when you're trying to like break the opponent's the mirror match's end board. But also something else that people were talking about on Twitter is that like decks like Sky Striker and Radiant Typhoon especially tend to have really good matchups into Cool Tune. And Naturia Rose Whip effectively makes it to where you have to draw Droplet or Dark Ruler if you're playing like Striker, potentially going second, or Bust, right? So Naturia Rose Whip is just unhealthy in that retrospect. And the reason why Radiant Typhoon also just has like a higher chance to beat like any Cool Tune board is because of cards like Sheena, right? So Naturia Rose Whip being active on there, it means that the Radiant Typhoon deck cannot dig further, play through the board, and win in a potentially possible situation. Also, I hate cards like Rose Whip and the Rainbow 5 Magician, right? Because cards like these make it to where you effectively have bad deck building, right? Because you're focusing on like getting these cards out on the field if possible. What I mean by that is you're basically thinking that if you put this card in your deck, your win rate is going to go so high because you're like under the impression that you're always going to go first, and of course like win the game off of your combo, right? Because Naturia Rose Whip is just like, you know, you get it for free off of the Q, right? If you don't start with Q normal summon. But that also presents another issue on bad deck building, which is these cards are literally only good going first. You can make an argument for 5 Rainbow Magician, right, being fine going second because it can be a skill drain. But also that just means that you have one less starter or extender in your hand if you draw this, which again, in my opinion, makes for bad deck building. And in the case of Naturia Rose Whip, sure, Naturia Rose Whip, you normal summon it against a striker deck, maybe, just maybe, it could be effective. But like, you gotta think that if you are going second and your starting play is normal summon Rose Whip, you're probably cooked, right? I don't like Konami having cards that promote bad deck building, as you know I have just described, and for that reason alone, I do believe that these are wonderful changes into the ban list. So far, I'm a fan. One thing that I want to add is I would like to see cards like Droll Still and MAXX C get hit. But with the introduction of Cool Tune into the meta, as a player that plays Cool Tune, I don't find myself having a big issue with Droll whatsoever in the format. I'm completely fine, right, with them keeping like the card if it's not super effective, because a lot of the times when you play Cool Tune, the only like point where they control you for the most part is like, and this is where it would really hurt, is if you have to start you know, what like maybe Pot of Desires, but most decks are not playing that right now, right? And so, you know, being able to like play around it, the deck has many ways, right? If you have Q summon Rotary, or Q you already have Rotary in hand, then like you just go and synchro and you get like 2 searches plus you know, manipulate the deck, and like you're completely fine. Whereas if you start like with a bad card, right, like with Desires, you just kind of have to hope that you drew enough engine and then pass, right? I'm rambling on a little bit too hard, but like also, you know, cards like Cool Tune and Synchro help you play around Droll and Lockbird because it's a quick play, so you get to do it in the draw phase, right? But I still would like to see cards like Droll get hit, And then MAXX C, I mean, it speaks for itself. Is there ways for Cool Tune to play around MAXX C? 1000%. I think Cool Tune works much like Dracotel, where if you are playing against, you know, an opponent that drops a MAXX C on you, and what's it called? You have like clip. You probably only give them 2 draws, like wholeheartedly, and then you're fine. So while I would love to see MAXX C get banned, I think the current format leads it to be semi-okay. But let's not kid ourselves. That card should go to 0 eventually. So hopefully they'll do that soon. And that does it, you know, for my discussion video. I am really tired, so I'm just going to upload this in the morning when I wake up. So thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, have a wonderful day, and let me know what you think about the ban list. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and yeah, I'm out.